by the way.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh, we're being live streamed again. Can you send me the link? I
Oh,
haven't.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Gotta do it.
As soon as it,
yeah.
oh god. As soon as it pops up, I'll send you a link. Here it is.
As soon as you pop up.
Yo.
Bitch.
Gotta do it.
As soon as it,
yeah.
oh god. As soon as it pops up, I'll send you a link. Shit.
Yeah, that's weird. Can we not? That
Yep,
does.
I'm muted. We're good. We're good now.
Did you send me the link?
Yep.
Good.
I don't have it yet. You liar.
It's hold on. Just give it a second. God. It's going
One.
to space. Give it a second.
He's so
There we go. Now we're good.
Funny.
You're so cool, Tyler.
I know.
Oh God.
Alex sounds fantastic there.
What a day, you know? What a day.
What a day. Okay. Let's go. Hockey first,
Hockey.
football second, basketball third.
sounds good.
Okay.
Can't wait.
Are we all ready?
No.
Yes.
Waiting. Always waiting on James.
Yeah, Tyler. Why did we start so late today?
Because I work till like 6:45.
You know, you can just quit work, right?
I wish. I wish.
Oh my Lanta.
Or $50 for 3 years.
If I didn't have to pay for anything, I would just quit right now. I didn't need money.
All right, now I'm done.
Do
All
what
right.
I tell you.
What?
Quit. You won't.
Ah,
Oh, it's 1-2, 1-1.
definitely will not. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 167 of TLDR Podcast. We are on the eve of October, ladies and gentlemen, which is one of the greatest months of the year. I mean, everything's pumpkin flavored, which we love, but mainly it's because all the sports are going. We got MLB postseason, we got hockey's coming back, basketball's coming back. And then football, you know, we're in the full swing of football. We're going to be a month into the NFL season. So we got all those sports coming for you on this podcast. We'll have Traden talking some more NHL previews. Alex is talking some of his NBA previews, and James is going through his waiver wire for fantasy football. So hope you guys are in for another good treat. Next week, we'll be talking about the MLB postseason. But just to kind of wrap up MLB and just got to get a little bit in there. We got to talk about our series picks of the week champion. James, you wiped the floor with everyone, bud. After last week, you went 2-1, and you have a 23-12 record, which is nowhere near anyone else. And since we're not doing picks this week, the final standings, I came in second, 17-19, which again proves how crazy James just kicked our ass. Traden, I beat you out by so my win I had to do the win percentages because they're all kind of whack. So I had a 472 win percentage. Traden, you came right behind me with a 470.
Okay.
So
Respectable.
Traden, you weren't last because you had a good 3-0 week last week. So great job. You finished the year out strong. A perfect week for you. Alex, you and I both went 1-3, which really screwed with our records. So unfortunately, Alex, you finished in last at 16-19. With a 4.57 wins percentage. So Alex, you're really good at trivia. So you're really good at like knowing the present and the past, but you're terrible at predicting the future. So there's always a balance there somewhere. But Alex, other than coming in last in picks of the week, how are you doing?
Okay, so technically I did not come in last because as we know, I'm Team James. So in reality, I got first place also.
Agree with that statement, by the way.
Yeah. It's like in 7 days, I will expect $50 Venmo to me from James because the Padres suck. I'm doing fantastic, Tyler. I do not like pumpkin, so I don't like the generalization that you just did. Pumpkin spices are gross.
Wow. Hot take.
Other than
How
that,
dare you?
yeah. Trade in pumpkin cheesecake would potentially be the worst thing on the history of the world. Other than that, though, Tyler, I am doing fantastic. I had a good weekend. ready for basketball to start, ready for baseball playoffs, ready for hockey to start, ready for the Rams to score in the red zone. Other than that, I'm good to go, baby.
I love it. Don't buy Alex anything pumpkin. He will throw it back in your face. We know this to be true. James, that's a hot take. I'm a big fan of all the pumpkin flavored things. James, are you a fan of all the pumpkin flavored things?
I don't know if I'm a fan of all pumpkin things like you are, because you're a BWB.
Yeah.
If you know what that is, figure it out.
Yep.
But I don't know. I'm kind of with Alex. I'm cool with it, but I won't really throw it at your face. Pumpkin cheesecake.
I won't either.
I think that you will. $5 says you won't. So now you're going to give me $5. I'm going to go try to win my money back here. But Tyler is going to give me money for winning the baseball thing. So pretty much Tyler's going to send you the $50. So that's how it's going to work out.
I
Good?
love that.
Good.
Yeah, James, you have still yet to prove that we put any money on this whole MLB picks of the week thing, and it's been 3 weeks already. So I'm pretty sure you just have not been able to figure it out. So I will give you something though. I think you deserve some prize. But I next week I will come up with what the prize is. How about that?
How about a golf clap?
Yeah, that fantastic. But every listeners, go back in time, go figure it out. There's somewhere.
James needs help, basically.
I need help
to figure out nothing, because nothing ever happened. But Traden, how are you, my man?
I'm doing well. We are just 2 weeks away from the NHL starting. So I'm very excited. I'm also excited for October baseball. Also, fun news is that the entire Chargers defense flipped off their coach by still winning the game, even though the coach did everything he could to lose the game. So congratulations to the Chargers defense. You really stuck it to your coach who needs to be fired yesterday.
Wow. Yeah. Chargers got away with one. They, are not 0-3, unlike some other teams in the league that are in some trouble. But it was a great week for all of us. Let's get in to the meat of the podcast. We're going to lead off with some hockey talk. Traden's got the Pacific Division preview. Traden, let's go.
Yes, sir. So as always, we are going to go in reverse order from rank. So James is going to take us through the Anaheim Ducks, who went a whopping 23, 47, and 12 for just 58 points, which was effectively worse than the league, James. I'm sorry to say.
And they didn't get the first overall pick.
Did not get the first overall pick. The bullshit lottery draft kills you again. You guys lost out on Sidney Crosby in 2008, and now you lose out. I think it might have been 2008, might be a little earlier. Now you lose out on Connor Bedard. So tough sledding for the Anaheim Ducks there. But for the roster, in comes veteran Alex Killorn, Leo Carlson, Andrew Agazino, Robert Haig, Radko Gudas, Ilya Lubushkin, Alex Stalock, and Coach Greg Cronin. Out is Derek Rant, Jason Megna, Max Comtois, Kevin Shattenkirk, Simon Benoit, Nathan Bellio, Anthony Stolars, and Coach Dallas Eakins, to what James is so ecstatic to see and hear about. I know he loves Dallas Eakins. My question for you, James, is quite simple. The biggest issue right now for the Ducks is they sit 2 weeks away from the NHL starting, and Jamie Drysdale and Trevor Zegras are still without a contract. They are not with their teams. They are not signed up. My patience for the little ball of hate that is your GM is starting to wear thin as a fan, as a side fan of the Ducks. Not really a fan, but I appreciate you liking them. And I also was one that is a kind of backed up Pat Verbeek at the time of the hiring, and so far my patience for him is running thin. Question for you: do we see Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale suit up for the Anaheim Ducks in 2 weeks?
I was not prepared for this question whatsoever. Fun fact. Hence this awkward silence. They need to. They definitely, because if not, there's nobody that's going to go to a Ducks game. Because who are you going to watch, man? Let's be real. Like, there's nobody. Zegras is a human highlight reel. The Ducks aren't going to win a lot of games again because they're not going to be that good. So you're going to go watch and hope for a Michigan or a really sick new goal that's going to come out. Zegras needs to be there to do that. They need experience because they aren't the best of the best yet, because they haven't played at the best of the best level for at that long. They're young. Zegras is 22. Drysdale's 21. They need to sign him. But the fact of the matter is, Pat Verbeek, who I didn't really like from the beginning, because of just the way he did his intro conference and everything, he is kind of like a hard ass. And it's like my way or the highway. And with this generation of kids, because let's call it what it is, Zegras is a kid, Drysdale is a kid, they want things done their way. And if it doesn't get catered to them, they're not going to do it. And so now they're at a standstill between Verbeek being the old head, being like, I want it this way, you better do it or you're not going to play. And Zegras is like, all right, cool, then I won't play. It is what it is. Like, you need me. And the fact of the matter is, the Ducks need Zegras and Drysdale more than they need Verbeek. Let's be real right now. That's the fact of the matter. I want to say yes, that they will sign, because I think at the end of the day, it's going to be public opinion on the Ducks being they need to sign these guys. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. So I think it's going to be upper management that'll be like, this needs to happen ASAP, or else we're not going to have anybody at our game. So I think at the end of the day, on opening day, you will have those two players on the ice.
Yeah. I think that court of public opinion is going to force Verbeek's hand, so to speak. His opening offer for Zegras is downright bullshit. I will say that. It was like 3 or 4 million. That's how much you're paying like Alex Killorn, who's like needs a walker to play. I do want to give you a little bit easier question because it is the Ducks. They are bringing in some very hard-nosed veterans that do not appreciate losing. Alex Killorn is this two-time Stanley Cup winner. Radko Gudas, we saw what that motherfucking animal did in the playoffs. Do you think that this veteran group is going to appreciate losses, and do you think it's good to bring in this type of veteranship for guys that just haven't been, for the rest of a team that hasn't been able to really, find a winning way?
I think it's fantastic that these guys are on the team. The rest of this team haven't won ever. Look at the roster. You have all these young guys and Henrique. That's what's happening right there. And John Gibson, who obviously doesn't like losing either, but having these winning voices on the team, getting on the players, is going to kind of have like an asshole, like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant role on the team when they sucked. And now you're going to have these guys bring the level up. Practices will be harder, which is great. You need harder practices right now to get you ready for the game. When the practices are harder than the game, you succeed. And Dallas Aiken sucked as a coach. Let's be real. He was atrocious. He let things slide that shouldn't have slid. And so now you're bringing these guys who hate losing. It's going to be a culture shock and a culture change in a good way.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's always good when you bring in those type of guys. And I think that alone is going to make it worth going to Ducks games. And Vegas kind of agrees here. So the Vegas line for their points is 66.5. Give you some context. 78.5 was their opening, the opening spot last season. They finished with 58. So James, what do you say for 66.5?
Over.
You take the over? Okay, I appreciate that. As a fan, I do appreciate that. Tyler, how do you feel about your hated rival to the south?
Just because I don't like him, it's the under.
Fair enough. Alex, do you hate him less than Tyler?
I mean, I don't know, but I don't like him, which means under.
I appreciate the fact that I think that that they can't get any worse, and I think that they may find a new goaltender that after Gibson's traded. I think this team's going to make a step forward and kind of stabilize a little bit. I think we're going to see the over, not by much. I think we're going to see a better season by the Ducks, which is always fun, especially here in Anaheim. Moving on to the Sharks. Let me double check. I don't think any of these guys really wanted to talk about the Sharks.
I got it. It's me.
Oh, you do? Oh, James. That's shocking. Especially when there are other teams that you could have talked about. So you talk about the two worst teams in the Pacific. San Jose Sharks went 22, 44, and 16 for 60 points. For the San Jose Sharks, in comes Michael Granlund, Anthony Duclair, Mike Hoffman, Giovanni Smith, Ryan Carpenter, John Ruda, and Mackenzie Blackwood in the net. Out goes Steven Lorentz, Noah Gregor, and Eric Carlson, and James Reimer. Mike Greer is really in the middle of a true ass rebuild. In some cases, what some teams in this league and some teams in other leagues really need to do. Now it hurts. You're losing your best players. You're losing a 100-point player in Eric Carlson, who just turned back the clock. Will Smith was your fourth overall pick in this past summer, but he's going to be playing in Boston for one more year. How do you feel about the Sharks? And do you think that they will be, second in the division, or do you think that they will be beat out by your team, the Anaheim Ducks?
The reason why I picked the Anaheim Ducks over is because the Sharks are going to be terrible. 60 points last season. They, like you said, true rebuild, trading away everybody. At the end of the season, I don't expect Logan Couture to still be there. I don't expect Duclair to still be there, or Hoffman, or Grant. Like everybody that they kind of just brought in are going to be gone. This team needs to stock up draft capital. They need to get their young players involved. And that's what's going to happen right now. Like, this team is easy to talk about because they're going to be terrible.
Yeah, I think we can keep it pretty short. I mean, I know Kylie's a big Sharks fan, but at the end of the day, I think that the management team is looking for younger players to grow. They're looking for and they're looking to build up draft capital. This is how rebuilds work. Everybody on this podcast knows, especially the two Kings fans, the Sharks were good for so long, and it's now time for the chickens have come to roost, so to speak, and this is that time. And they're doing it right. It hurts. It's not fun to watch, but at the end of the day, I think they're going to be better off for it. And that kind of scares us as fans of other teams in this division. Vegas actually has them not being last in the division. I do, but Vegas does not somehow. The line is open at 70.5 points. It opened at 77.5 last season, and they only got 60. James, I think this is an easy under, but am I wrong in thinking that?
No, it's a very, very easy under. They're under by a lot.
Tyler.
Yeah, under.
Alex.
Yeah, it's going to be under.
Yeah, we're all fading the Sharks. Sorry, Kylie. That's a crazy line to me. When we see the basketball ones that are pretty tight, then they have this. It's like, come on now, like this is not even achievable. Let's move on to the Vancouver Canucks. They went 37. I'm just making sure. Oh, Alex, you took Vancouver, didn't you? 38-37-7 for 83 points. Vancouver has just been that middling team, guys. Alex, I think, we know that. In comes Pius Suter, Teddy Bluger, Ian Cole, Carson Soucy, and Matt Irwin. Out goes Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Ethan Bear, Travis Dermott, Kyle Burrows, and Colin Delia. Once again, Canucks are the middling group. They are a team that I kind of bring up all the time that are not good enough to make the playoffs, but just not bad enough to find a draft position that is worthy of building this team. Where does Vancouver go from here?
If you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, you're hoping Brock Besser is not a Canuck at the trade deadline, because I think he's probably the guy, or like JT Miller maybe, are probably the two guys on that team with the highest draft capital that are, I don't know what their contract situations are off the top of my head. I know Besser was floated around last year. And I don't even know what they're doing with Elias Pettersson. I don't think he's under contract, or they're still like working on whatever they're working on with him. So the Canucks, like, you got to pick a lane. Realistically, the lane needs to be the Anaheim, San Jose direction and start over, because you've not been a championship contender, even a playoff contender in the last 5 years, but you haven't been, what the Kings were, what the Blackhawks are doing now, what the Ducks are doing now, what the Sharks are doing now. Like, you got to do something. Like, at least the Minnesota Wild make the playoffs and lose in the first round every year. You can't even make the playoffs. So, like, you got to do something else.
You have to do something else. Unfortunately, Vegas, it does not see them doing that, because why would they change anything that they've been doing? It seems to be just meh. The line set for the Vancouver Canucks this season is 88.5. It opened at 92.5, and they finished at 83. Alex, I mean, taking the over here would suggest that they are flirting with a playoff spot. Where are you with Vancouver?
I'm taking the under. I just think the top teams in this division are way, way, way better than the Vancouver Canucks. And yes, they could potentially beat up on the other two California teams, the Ducks and the Sharks, but I don't see it under.
Yeah. Tyler, do you agree or disagree with Alex here?
Yeah, I agree. It's just not a team that gives me any sort of confidence to put them over. So definitely under.
James?
Under.
Now the big question is where are they going to fare with the other two California teams that are not named the Kings. I'm going to say under 2. I'm just fading this team. I'm fading this whole division so far. Besides the Ducks, I had to throw you a little bone there, James. You're welcome for that. Now we move on to the Calgary Flames, which, if I'm not mistaken, that is a group that did not. Oh no, Tyler, you picked the Flames. Wow. So I'm going to be stuck with the 2 best team. Come on, guys, are you serious? That's not fun.
That's not true.
That is not true. Let's talk Calgary Flames. 38, 27, 17 for 93 points. Calgary Flames battled and battled and battled. They just did not end up where they wanted to be. Tyler, as we know, that there was some, roster turnover. And it was quite a mess with Daryl Sutter. In comes Igor Sharangovich, Matt Coronado, Jordan Ulsterley, and Coach Ryan Huska and GM Craig Conroy. Out is Tyler Toffoli, Trevor Lewis, Milan Lucic, Nick Ritchie, Troy Stetcher, Coach Daryl Sutter, and Brad Tree Living. The Calgary Flames are in an interesting position, Tyler. We have the Kings that kind of position themselves as a contender. You have the Edmonton Oilers, who are a Stanley Cup contender alongside the Vegas Golden Knights. And you have Seattle that's actually, that all-around team that can win any night. The Calgary Flames are a different situation. We have a new coach, but they're coming off a season where they're, one of their best players just did not, figure it out. So I ask you, where does Calgary fit in this whole in this whole division? And do you think that they are worthy of a playoff spot?
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting year for the Flames. I think last year they underachieved by a ton. I think they had, the Huberdeau trade was one of the biggest offseason stories in the NHL, and that dude's production was half of what it was the season prior in Florida. So I think they're going to need a lot of bounce back seasons from Huberdeau. I think Nazem Kadri, another guy that had a really bad year last year, and their goalie Markstrom. I think all of those guys had pretty awful years, and you'd expect all those three. I think those three need to have bounce back years, and I think they'll kind of track back towards what their career norm is. I expect big seasons from all three of those guys. So, and then a new head coach. Obviously, it wasn't working with Sutter. It'll be interesting to see what Huska brings to this team. He's been with the Flames as an assistant for the previous 5 years. So it's not necessarily a whole new mindset. I think it's to be similar, but maybe just a bit different. But they got to get production out of those guys that I mentioned. And yeah, I think if they do get production out of those guys, and they seem to find a better chemistry, they should be in the position to be a playoff team in this division. I think it's going to be very close with those other teams that you mentioned, but I think there's enough with this roster on paper for them to be a good hockey team. I think they need to get off to a hot start. I think if they don't, you can see a lot of these guys being traded or potentially going towards more of a full rebuild, especially with the new GM and the new head coach. So things could get ugly if they don't start off well, but I expect the Flames to be a lot better than they were last year, especially with those three guys, new head coach. But like I said, I think they need to get off to a really good start. If they don't, I think trouble could be brewing up in Calgary.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that. However, I think the Flames are going to benefit from the fact that, in my opinion, I think that there's only 3 teams coming out of the Central, and that leaves one extra spot for the Flames to kind of step in. I think that the Pacific Division, I think we can say all the way through those before the last 3 teams we've talked about are probably stronger than the next 5 teams, say, in the Central. That's not to say that the top 3 are that's a different discussion, but Vegas tends to agree too, Tyler. The line's opening at 95.5, which would have put them in the playoffs. They were literally a game or 2 out of playoffs this last season, even with the terrible season that they had. It opened at 101.5, so they definitely missed at 93. So I ask you, Tyler, where do you see the Flames at 95.5?
I think they'll be over, just barely over that.
Like, say 96.
Yeah.
James, what do you think?
Upper 90s.
I'm gonna go under that one.
Under. You're not a fan of this Flames team.
No, I don't like that.
What about you, Alex?
I'm gonna take the over.
You take the over. I like it. I'm actually gonna take the under, and I'll say it because I still think Jacob Markstrom sees Connor McDavid ghosts in his sleep. We killed him, and that I don't think that's gonna change for a while until he actually slays the beast. Which, let's be real, that's probably not gonna happen. Now we're gonna move on to the Seattle Kraken. Alex, 46, 28, and 8 for 100 points. They made the playoffs seemingly out of nowhere. I think they were a really good team all the way through. In comes one of my favorite little guys, Kyler Yamamoto, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, Devin Shore, and Brian Dumoulin. Out is Daniel Sprong, surprisingly, Morgan Geekie, Ryan Donato, Carson Soucy, and Martin Jones. So, Alex, I think that the Kraken shocked the hockey world. I think that's fair to say. They're obviously ahead of schedule in terms of their, cycle of what we expected. But do you think that making the playoffs has disrupted the path in what we expected them? And would a missing of the playoffs, either A, shock you, and B, be a disappointment?
Yeah, I think so. To answer your question, no, I don't think it disrupted the path. I mean, look, we saw how poorly they did in that first season, and everyone was talking all this smack, like, why didn't you take Tarasenko? Why didn't you take yada, yada, yada? And those guys have been trash. Like, they did a really good job being really bad that first year. Kind of surprised us. I think we all thought that they were going to be better than they were that first year. Maybe the rest of us did not have them as a playoff team last year for sure. And then they shocked the world and beat the Avs in the first round. So look, I still think they're on that right path. Look, and I think with Grubauer, he had a really poor first season in Seattle. Last year got a little bit better. He still had an under 900 save percentage where he's like a 915 career guy. You expect him to get better. And potentially you have Shane Wright coming this year, which, there are a lot of things said about him, and he was supposed to be the number one guy and whatever, but like, he's 19. Mm-hmm. People are stupid when they're 19. Like, that's the deal. And if he can take a step up, and with Matty Beniers and the rest of that Kraken team, like, I expect them to keep continuing trending in the right direction.
Yeah, it's interesting. GM Ron Francis has done just a great job in terms of creating an overall, strong team all the way through. They're missing star power. And I think that we all agree with that. And that just comes with, it just kind of comes with the territory. We might see Shane Wright step into that. I don't think so. I think he's going to be an NHLer, but I don't know that he's going to be a superstar. I think we need to pump the brakes on what we expect of Shane Wright, despite everything that's kind of happened. Vegas opens the line with Seattle right with the Flames at 95.5. So they opened at 83.5. They blew it away at 100. Again, they shocked everybody. Alex, how do you feel about Seattle at 95.5?
Look, the Carolina Hurricanes don't have star power, and they're one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup. So I'm taking the over.
You're taking the over. That I like it. I will also take the over. I do like the Seattle team. They just are a thorn in your side and a problem every night. What about you, Tyler?
I will take the over as well. I think it's going to be a really tight, packed Pacific Division this year.
James, I'm assuming now this is the assumption because I know what you're feeling about Seattle is, but what is it?
I do hate Seattle and everything Seattle, but I got to go with the over here.
Oh, wow.
The Kraken just look good, man. Like Alex said, you don't necessarily need star power. It's a good team.
They are a good team. Is it safe to say that the Kraken are your least hated Seattle team?
Yes.
Good. I appreciate that. All right, moving on to the Los Angeles Kings. Two guys on this podcast, our fans. But actually, if Alex, this was Tyler's, but if you have something to say after Tyler's done, you're more than welcome to chime in on your team, just like James did with his Ducks. 47, 25, and 10 last season for 104 points. They lost out to the Edmonton Oilers once again in the playoffs, in a very, very hard fought battle, in what could other be just considered an incredible season or series. Seems to be the case when those two teams kind of meet up. In comes Pierre-Luc Dubois, Trevor Lewis is back, and Cam Talbot. Out is Gabe Velarde, Alex Iafallo, Rasmus Kupari, Sean Dursey, which surprised me, Sean Walker, Alex Edler, Jonas Corpusalo, and Cal Peterson. Tyler, you're at a moment where we think that the Kings are perennial playoff teams, and I think that that's kind of safe to say. They are probably a strong enough team all the way through. The question is how are they going to be able to perform in the playoffs? But I want to talk about the regular season. I think that LA would benefit from home ice advantage in some respect. They haven't had that luxury in the last couple here. So I ask you, do you think this team's good enough to find that 1 or 2 spot where they would have home ice advantage for at least a series?
I think they definitely have the potential to be a 1 or 2 seeded team coming out of the Pacific Division. I think, they obviously made the big trade to get Dubois, which gives them a very deep center rotation along with Kopitar and Danault. So I think that they've put themselves in a good position on the roster, especially with depth, to put themselves in that kind of elite status in terms of a regular season hockey team that can win a lot of games and get a lot of points and hopefully secure a home ice advantage, especially in the first or second round of the postseason, which I think for them is kind of the step they need to take. They've made the playoffs the last couple of years. They've gotten bounced in the first round. I think we've kind of come to this point now. We want the next step, which is a deep playoff run. So we'll see, how Dubois can put in that mix, but I think it gives them a very lethal center rotation, which is huge. I think it bumps some other guys that were playing, like, Byfield was playing a center a lot. I think that puts him on a wing. I think that just makes this Kings rotation, the offense, a lot deeper. They did lose a lot of, kind of young guys that I do like, but I think that they'll still be a very good team. I think their biggest question mark, which was the same question mark as last year, is their goaltending. Is Cam Talbot going to be that guy, Phoenix Copley, who stepped in and did a pretty good job for us last year? But are those the guys that are good enough to get us past that hump in the postseason? I think that's definitely a huge question mark and something that might be addressed at the trade deadline, depending on how Talbot and Copley perform. I think that's really their biggest flaw right now. And I think even then, I think Talbot and Copley will be serviceable, but are they that Stanley Cup winning tandem? I'm not sure. But I do like there's a lot of things to like about this Kings team. And I think that they will take that next step forward and get a playoff series win at some point, but a lot to look forward to for this season for the LA Kings.
Definitely. Alex, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, even if Quentin Byfield's your 4th line center, that's an incredible 4 centers in 4 lines. He's also 21 years old. And, I still think that, yes, the centers are great. And you're forgetting, like, Tyler, not that you're forgetting him, but Adrian Kempe has scored like 35 and 40 goals the last 2 years. He might be the most underrated, quiet goal scorer in the NHL right now. And look, we saw the Vegas Golden Knights win the cup with Aiden Hill in goal. You think the Kings can't do that with Cam Talbot? I think they can, but yeah, there are obviously 2 big names on the goalie market with John Gibson and Connor Hellebuck that could potentially get there. And even with this big trade, the Kings still have one of the better farm systems. So like they can pull it off. The money would be a little iffy. They could do one of those Tampa long-term IR bullshit things and just kind of see what happens. But yeah, I agree with you, Tyler. Like, I think this is the year we need to see them win a series, and ideally get home ice advantage. One of those top 2 spots.
Yeah, the LA Kings are a team that always kind of worry me. I mean, they're a team that plays very well against speedy teams. They have that god awful trap system that is so fucking effective, but so goddamn boring. But it is so damn effective, and they're already starting to bring it back. So and some things never change when it comes to McClellan. So Vegas has the line set at 100.5. Now, don't freak out because they had 104 last season. We have to remember that Vegas brought everybody up who are in the basement. So the points have to go somewhere. So they opened at 96.5. They more than managed it at 104. So I ask you, Tyler, 105, where are you at?
Over. Go Kings go.
Go Kings go. Not surprising. Alex, the other guy.
Yeah, that's an easy over for me.
James?
I actually have the under, man. I don't like the goaltending here at all.
Yeah, the goaltending is the biggest question. It always will be until they maybe make that trade. But I still think you assume that they're a playoff team, right, James?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a playoff team. For me, because I have so many unders everywhere, the points have to go somewhere. I think they're going to be like right at 101. Like, I think they're just going to be over. I want to, and also this is a little bit of karma because I do believe that I do need to respect the team that is in front of me. I respect the Kings. I don't want to dog on them because that will end up blowing in my face. I know it. Moving to the second team in the Pacific, that is my team. They ended 50-23-9 with 109 points. They were just 2 points away from that top spot in the Pacific, ultimately top spot in the West. The Edmonton Oilers had an interesting, very, very interesting, offseason. In comes Connor Brown, a former line mate of Connor McDavid's back in juniors. And in comes Lane Peterson. Out is Kyler Yamamoto, Klim Kostin, Nick Bukestad, Devin Short, and Ryan Murray. Boys, for me, this is going to be quite simple. I think that from what I understand, the way that everything's kind of gone through the summer, Connor McDavid in particular is going to be a man on a mission. I think that we all know that the path to a Stanley Cup comes from a heartbreaking loss or a character building loss. They just had that in against Vegas. I'm not going to, I don't know how anybody can say that the Oilers took a true step backwards considering they ended up losing to the eventual Stanley Cup, champion. I think that we all agree that between the Kings, the Oilers, and the Vegas Golden Knights, one of the three was going to win the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup final was the second round, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, there weren't very many tweaks that Edmonton made. The biggest question mark is goaltending, and I don't know. We never know what we're going to get from goaltending, but I do like to believe that any step in the right direction is a positive step, especially when it comes to Jack Campbell. And I do believe that he's already started to stabilize. Apparently, he came more fit than ever. And the only thing I ask of him is to just not take as much pressure every single night that you lose, buddy, because it's not helpful. I think he did that in LA when he was there. He did do that in Toronto, and that was such a big problem, and it just gets in your head. So stay out of your head, buddy, because you don't need that. The Oilers are opening up at 106.5 points. That they opened up at 102.5 and they finished 109. I'm obviously taking the over because, again, the points have to go somewhere, and they're also my team. So I'm not going to be, I'm not, I have very, very high hopes for the team this year. James, what about my Oilers?
I'm definitely going over. I want to see Connor McDavid score a lot of points.
Yeah, I think we all need to be very fucking careful of that. Tyler?
Yeah, I will go over for the Oilers as well.
And Alex?
Under. They are one injury away from missing the playoffs. That's why the Oilers, I'm still not convinced.
They're still not convinced.
If Connor or Leon gets hurt, this Pacific is better. You could miss the playoffs. I'm just putting that out there, and I'm not hope that doesn't happen. Just going big and saying under.
Hey, I like it.
That does something different.
I like it. You have to be something different. And hey, this is a competition too. So we're gonna make the last one as quick as possible. The Vegas Golden Knights went 51-22-9. That's how they ended up with 111 and winning the West as well as Pacific. In comes Mason Geertsen, excuse me. Out is Riley Smith, Phil Kessel, Laurent Brossoit, and Jonathan Quick. A lot of old guys. Riley Smith, one of the original Golden Knights. I like to think that this defending cup champion team is going to be looking to do it again. I don't think they care about the regular season. I think they're kind of in that same situation as LA and Edmonton. Just get us there. Like, I'm at the point where just get me there, and so is Vegas. Losing the guys that they did, I mean, losing Riley Smith's huge, but they didn't lose anyone. Like, they lost to Phil Kessel, who wasn't even playing in the playoffs. Laurent Brossoit and Jonathan Quick. They probably weren't going to crack a starting spot with Aiden Hill there. So I think that, they didn't really have to do much. It's just a matter of, are they going to do their bullshit LTIR thing again with their captain, which if there's an over under on that, I'm definitely hitting the over on that, but there is not. The Vegas Golden Knights are opened at 104.5. So actually just below the Edmonton Oilers, according to Vegas. They opened at 97.5 and they finished with a 111, to which I say they will take the under. I'm actually taking the under. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back in the regular season because I just don't think they're going to care as much. James?
I also took the under on that one.
You're taking the under. Alex?
Damn it. I really wanted to take the under, but now I want to be different. So I'm going to take the over.
I like it. Tyler, what about you, buddy? 140.
Yeah, little. I'm gonna go under. Little Stanley Cup hangover.
Yes. Yes.
You're going to take the under too. Okay. So
we're going to win by a lot or lose by a lot. That's my game.
I like it. That's the Pacific Division, Tyler. But next week, guys, it is the draft for the TLDR in-season Stanley Cup. So stay tuned for that. We might have some rule changes. I think we had some issues last season, and we're going to have it all squared out this season. I'm so excited for it. Tune in next week.
Thank you, Traden. Another Pacific or another division preview up for grabs. I'm excited for that in season Stanley Cup. I need some redemption because I did awful last year, so I need to figure that out for sure. Looking forward to that next week. But thank you, Traden. When we come back, we're doing another waiver wire fantasy football segment with your boy James.
Yeah, boy.
LeBron.
Dude,
All right,
it's
ready?
crazy how the Angels are just now starting to win. Why?
It
I
don't matter.
7-1 against the Texans right now.
Hey man, they can just play some spoiler for the Rangers and just they can just end your season.
That would make me happy.
Yeah, gotta take what you can get at this point. All right, ready? All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody. We are entering week 4 of the NFL season, and that means fantasy football is in full swing. And James has got his waiver picks of the week. James, take it away.
Yeah, I kind of sucks that I wasn't on waiver, or I was hosting last week because my waiver picks last week were on point. CJ Stroud, Tank Dell, I don't even know who I had my second one, but Jerome Ford. There we go. They were fantastic. But just want to give you guys updates on our season for fantasy football. Speaking of people who suck, like Tyler, because he sucked at the last game too. He lost, so he's now 1-2 in 9th place. I lost to Traden. Traden's in 6th. I'm in 5th. Alex won, and he's in 3rd place at 2-1. And you always got to give Mike a shout out because he listens to every single podcast. So shout out Mike. He's in 1st place, 2-1, 173 points this last week. Starting off on waivers this week, it is quarterback Jordan Love out of the Green Bay Packers. 47.6% rostered, 24.26 points against the Saints, 22 for 44, 259 yards and a touchdown and an interception. He also added 9 Ks for 39 yards and a touchdown. If you guys remember 2 weeks ago, I also had Jordan Love on there, but y'all didn't listen. He's been fantastic these last couple weeks. Top 10 quarterback in week 3, top 8 quarterback in week 4. If you just remember my stat line, he completed 50% of his passes, which is not good, but I think his confidence is at all-time high after coming back and really just driving the Green Bay Packers to victory against the Saints. They were down by 14, 18 points, 17 points, and they came back to win it, which was insane. And it also showcased his rushing ability, which was great. And if you know anything about fantasy, you want a quarterback that can run. Also, wide receiver Christian Watson, who I said was going to be back in week 2, is finally coming back in week 4. So I was wrong there, but he'll be back. And he'll also have Aaron Jones back, which is going to make Jordan Love's life so much easier. Alex, your thoughts on Jordan Love?
Yeah, he scored over 20 points in each of these first 3 games. And just like you mentioned, James, the percentage, not great, but the most yards he's thrown for, the most rushing yards he's ran for, and I thought that showed a lot. I think they were down. Yeah, like you mentioned, James, 17-0, 14-0 at halftime. Obviously, a comeback against a Saints team that, I think we all considered one of the better-ish teams in the NFC. So that's proved a lot. They are going up. He is going up against Detroit, who's been pretty good so far this year. But, if you're looking for something with, I don't know, maybe you're a Derek Carr stand and he's hurt, or I don't fucking know, somebody else, or you drafted Aaron Rodgers and that's all gone to shit and you're looking for something, Jordan Love might be the answer for you.
Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to pick the guy. It's just going to be this revolving door of these 2 quarterbacks because they're not listening to you, James. Why aren't they listening to you? It's CJ Stroud, man. It's CJ Stroud, dude. This motherfucker has looked so good, and it's just amazing to see. I mean, he's scoring at least 24.6 fantasy points each outing. If you have for some reason, if you have a Matt Stafford or Derek Carr, what are you doing? dump them. They're done. Get him the fuck out of there and pick up CJ Stroud. He's playing against Pittsburgh this week. And James, I only have to think that you did not pick CJ Stroud this week because you couldn't, because you picked him last week.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Moving on to running back, Devon Achane, or as he likes to be called, Devon Achane, Miami Dolphins. 16.1% rostered, 51.3 points against the Broncos, who are a very sorry team. 18 carries for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also added 4 receptions for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns. Definitely the hottest guy on the waiver wire right now. 51 points is crazy. He's not the starting running back for Miami, but if you remember anything about Miami and how Mike McDaniel likes to run his offense, they like using 2 running backs. Remember last year when they got Jeff Wilson at the trade deadline? It was Mostert and Jeff Wilson. You never knew which is which, but the thing is, they both scored a lot of points. The Dolphins loved Achane from the beginning. Let's be real. They loved him in training camp, but he got hurt. And he was actually the starter over Mostert, over Jeff Wilson, but he hurt his groin, and then they started easing him back in. And when his first full game of being 100% ready, he scores 51 points. Ridiculous. Achane is a do-it-all type of back. He's shifty, resilient. He's a force in the passing game, and he's a very lovable dude. Like he's great. I love him. Tyler, your thoughts on Achane?
Yeah, I think you kind of said it. I think with this explosive Miami offense, which obviously went off for a record-setting performance on Sunday, along with Achane, I think that's like an all-time performance. You're probably obviously not going to expect that every single week, but this is still a very, very good running back. And especially we're kind of getting to the point in the fantasy season where the waiver wire is starting to thin out a little bit. This is a guy you got to grab up right now because, even if you have running backs, like just go out and grab him because he can be a guy that at the least can be insurance for you if one of your running backs gets injured or starts to fall off. I think this is an easy pick and a very easy grab. So I think that even if you don't need a running back and your fantasy league is not paying attention, go get him.
So Alec, or not Alec, but everybody, pretty much everybody in the fantasy ever for fantasy football is going to try and get Achane, but Alex is not. Why is that?
He's never going to produce like that ever again. He went from 1.8 points the week before to 51. I mean, obviously, he's never going to hit 51 again. He's probably never going to hit 20 again. And you know who they're playing? The Buffalo fucking Bills. That's a good-ass team. They're going to end up throwing it a lot more, I think. Obviously, Tua is having an MVP-like season. If you expect the lowly-ass Broncos to do what they did, but the mighty Buffalo Bills, I just don't see it happening. I still think Mostert is that guy there. If you're looking for someone else, Saquon is still beat up. Matt Breida is still out there. He's only rostered at 26%. And you know who they're playing? Seattle. And you know what sucks? The Seattle run defense. So go get Breida. And he even had a decent day against the Niners defense on a Thursday short week. He almost had 11 points for a short week and a guy a lot of people probably picked up. That's not terrible. And now he plays Seattle, who gave up like 24 points to running backs last season. We already saw Kyron Williams torch them in week 1. James, you love this because this means I'm talking shit on Seattle.
I do love it, and I can't hate it. So, yeah, either or, pick one of the two. If you don't get Achane, go get Breida. Then moving on, wide receiver, Tank Dell, 23.3% roster, 25.5 points against the Jags, 5 receptions on 7 targets for 145 yards and a touchdown. So I did what Traden said I shouldn't do, but I picked this guy last week. I'm going to pick him again because he's that good. Not that I don't like CJ Stroud, but I went wide receiver heavy this time. CJ Stroud, this is CJ Stroud's top guy, and it's very apparent. You should read my waiver wire article from last week if you really want to know why. This Houston team is on its way up. They're actually a decent team, and they're fun to watch. They're better than the Cardinals. They're better than the Jets. The Jets are awful with Zach Wilson. Houston Texans, way more fun to watch. Tank Dell, way more fun to watch. He's going to get his. He has specific plays drawn up for him, and they are shot plays. They are bangers down the field where it's a home run every single time. And CJ Stroud loves to throw it deep. That's like his superpower. He's that guy when it comes to that. He's had 45.7 fantasy points over the last 2 weeks. And Tank Dell is a monster. Alex, your thoughts on Tank Dell?
Yeah, I just claimed him in our other league. So I'm really hoping that goes through because I don't know where I'm at in that claim order. But yeah, you're right. Back-to-back weeks of 20 plus. To be fair, those 2 touchdowns in both those things. But you know what CJ Stroud doesn't do? Throw picks. You know what he does do? Make completions to Tank Dell. Those are good things. I will give a little bit of credit and a little bit of iffiness because they are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers this upcoming week, and that is a very good defense. So it could be a little bit of a fade, but so far, CJ Stroud seems like easily the best rookie quarterback coming out of this, recent class. Tank Dell and him have, a very good chemistry, and I don't see why this can't continue.
I do agree that the Pittsburgh name is a little scary to go up against, but Minka Fitzpatrick, a safety, aka the most important position in football, is out. So those deep shots are going to be wide open for Tank Dell. Trade in your thoughts.
Look, I like the pick. But the next guy you're going to talk about is part of this offense who just lost Mike Williams. This Chargers offense, guys, is electric. I don't know if you guys have seen many of the Chargers play, but Chargers games. But Justin Herbert is he's having his own MVP-like season, in my opinion. He's able to sling the ball to anybody. So I'm going to say Josh Palmer if he's available, because he looked so damn good in that game. And here's the thing about the Chargers offense is there's no one guy. I know Keenan Allen was kind of the main guy, but Justin Herbert is a thrower. He loves to get everybody involved. He is very, very smart. He's one of the more intelligent quarterbacks. He does not just, he tries to find everybody and get everybody involved. And this Chargers offense is going to continue to get better. And with Mike Williams gone, which is a key part of that offense, in comes Josh Palmer. And I think that he's a great pickup. I
like that. Moving on to tight end, and let me just preface this: the tight end market is really tough right now. So I probably don't even listen to this part. I don't know. Donald Parham Jr., Los Angeles Chargers, 0.4% rostered, and there's a good reason for that. 14.4 points against the Minnesota Vikings, 2 receptions on 2 targets for 4 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So it's 100% on touchdown rate. Mike Williams just tore his ACL, like Traden just mentioned, and he was a big body in the end zone. He was kind of the guy that Herbert liked to hit in the end zone because of how big he was. But Parham might be just as big, if not bigger. This is a big man. He's a tight end. And so I think he's going to be the new end zone target for Herbert. And you can already see that. Mike Williams went down, Parham went in, had 2 touchdowns on 2 receptions on 2 targets. Like, he is the end zone guy for this Chargers team. So far this season, he's been targeted 4 times in the end zone through 3 games, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for a tight end who's playing second string minutes, like, that's massive. You're scraping at the bottom of the barrel for tight ends, and if you can get a touchdown, that's going to save your week, honestly. Traden, what are your thoughts?
I completely agree, and actually, I think that I know that Gerald Everett is their main tight end here, but look, that the scoring in our leagues, especially when it comes to tight ends, is premium, and it comes at a premium. If he's going to be the Chargers end zone target, which I think he is, and I just had this whole spiel about Justin Herbert, so rewind it like 30 seconds or whatever. You can insert everything I just fucking said. Justin Herbert is intellectual, he's smart, and he knows how to throw. He's going to continue to look for Parham to complete drives. I think this is a great pickup if you're really looking for the bottom of the barrel type of situation.
It sounds like Traden really likes Justin Herbert, but Justin Herbert also has kind of long hair. So I think Traden's on the precipice of hating him and loving him. So we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Tyler, thoughts?
Yeah, Donald's a duck. You know who's not a duck is Luke Musgrave of the Green Bay Packers. 13.3% rostered. He's currently the 10th ranked tight end fantasy, which again, slim pickings right now with fantasy, so I get it. But week 3, he had a pretty good outing. 6 receptions, 8 targets, 49 yards, 10.9 points. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but he's going to score a touchdown soon. So might as well pick him up before the rest of the league catches on. I think Jordan Love and that offense is still kind of figuring out their system and their chemistry. I think that Musgrave is going to be a big part of that going forward.
So you think he'll score a touchdown this upcoming week or the next week after that?
He will score 1 touchdown in the next 2 weeks.
And if that does not happen, what are you going to give Alex?
Yeah.
What am I going to give Alex?
Yeah. What are you going to give me?
A fist bump.
Lovely.
I'll take a beer instead.
All right. That's
I think we all take a beer. Thank you, Tyler, for the beers on, and all the listeners too. Claim a beer on Tyler. He said it. Tape has it. That wraps up week 4 of my waiver wires.
All right. Thank you, James. Informative as always. We love it. We're super into the fantasy football. Hopefully I can start getting better because my season's at a little bit of a precipice at the moment, but we'll figure it out.
Get hangover.
We'll be fine. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got one more segment for you. We got another division preview, this time in the NBA with Alex.
Precipice, big word.
Big boy word.
Nice. Did I use that word before you used that word? Is that what you used that word? Because I used that word before.
I mean, maybe it was a subconscious realization if it was. Possibly. I don't know. Are we ready?
We are so ready.
All righty. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everyone. Last segment of the episode. We have the NBA division previews. This time we're going to the Southeast with Alex. Take it away.
Thank you, Tyler. Just going to put this out there. This is probably the saddest division we're going to be talking about. I don't know what's going on with the Southeast, whether it's the NFL or the NBA, but those teams suck. So if you live in that area, I am sorry. But sorry. We are going to start with the Charlotte Hornets, who went 27-55 last year. That means they missed the playoffs. They gained technically Miles Bridges back again. Brandon Miller, who was the number 2 overall pick. Frank Nikintila, whatever the fuck you say his name, from France. They re-signed LaMelo Ball and PJ Washington. Pretty much they lost Kelly Oubre and Dennis Smith. Trade in for reasons I don't understand, because you texted before, Tyler, you picked the Hornets. But 2 years ago, they went like 43-39 or something like that. They made the play-in. They were kind of on the precipice of what we thought was kind of oh, fuck, I said precipice again. Damn it. They were on the up and up. God, that's so much worse. Whatever. Either way, 2 seasons ago, it kind of looked like they were going in the right direction. Last season, not so much. So was last season more of a blip, or do you think the Hornets kind of have a little bit going for them and they can turn this around?
No. They should not be focused on finding, specific type of positions to go for anything. They're so far irrelevant, and I don't know why I picked them either, but here I am. I do appreciate, I like Ball. I think he's fun, but that's probably about it. Look, this is a team that I think needs to continue its rebuild ways. They need to just focus on adding talent, regardless of the position, regardless of anything. Just bring in guys, bring in talent, and rebuild this thing. As you mentioned, this is a sad division. So you look at who else is there. There's Washington, it's Orlando. I mean, you could have made this joke about any of these guys, like all of them besides maybe Miami and to an extent Atlanta, I don't know, is a team that is not really worth much. So this is a situation where you just bring in a bunch of talent, continue to cultivate a competitive culture with this young group, and move forward. It's not a shame if you if you miss the playoffs. It's a shame if you don't find a competitive a feeling within the locker room, and I think that's where it starts. That's really all they have going for them.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed this a while back. Michael Jordan sold his majority share of the ownership and is a minority owner. We all kind of decided that didn't really matter. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who knows? Brandon Miller is a pretty outspoken dude. He said during the draft, like, no, I should go in front of Wemby. And I kind of like that attitude in a young guy. Like, yeah, I don't care about this. Like, I want to be that dude. So if he and LaMelo can do something together and at least kind of work on their chemistry, that's what this year kind of feels like. I don't think any of us expect the Charlotte Hornets to be, competing for a playoff or play-in spot. And I don't think Vegas does either, because their over is set at 30.5. Again, they won 27 games last year. Trade-in, you going over or under?
They're good for 4 more wins, boys. Come on. That chemistry is going to start for 31 games.
31 games. All right. I like that. Tyler, what about you? Over, under?
I'll go over as well. I think there's something about it I like.
Okay. Do you want to comment on what that is, or just
Just a gut feeling.
You
That's
like
all it
their
is. I have no reasoning for it.
Credit to them, and Eric loves their announcers. Their announcers are pretty dope, so I will give them that.
That's the reason why they'll be
huge.
over right
Okay,
there.
I like that. James, over under 30.5.
I have them under at 30.
Okay. I'm also going to take the under. I just don't trust that this team is there. They're struggling. But moving on to a team that is maybe a little more exciting, the Orlando Magic, and James, the Florida guy that he is, wants to talk about the Orlando Magic. They went 34-48 last year. They also missed the playoffs. They gained Anthony Black, number 6 overall, and Jet Howard, number 11 overall. The Australian GOAT, Joe Ingles, and slam dunk champion Mac McClung. Crazy offseason for Orlando. They really just lost Bol and Michael Carter Williams. James, Orlando with Paolo took a huge jump last year. They were awful 2 years ago, and a 34-48 record is, I mean, it's not great, but it's not terrible. So is this another prove it year, or do you expect them to kind of take a jump forward?
I definitely think they're going to take a jump forward, because you saw what happened in 1 year when they had pieces together. And now they have an entire year and then an off season of those pieces together where they can kind of gel and learn each other the way they do, right? The one thing they were really, really, really missing was consistent 3-point shooting with that team, because you have Paulo, who is an all-around great player. You have France, who can shoot the three, but he's not 100% there. Like, he's not the best of the best. Fultz and Carter, who can drive and kick, and then Carter is this big guy in the middle of the paint and just rebounds and blocks things. That's cool. You need a kick-out guy, and that's what Ingles is. He's been that guy for every single team that he's been on. And sure, he'll come off the bench and do his thing, but putting him in that lineup with this up-and-coming team, I like a lot. So I think this year they're going to make a more of a push, and they might even try to make that play in.
Yeah, James, I agree with you. And I think obviously the Orlando Magic are a very, very young team. And, you know, they've done a pretty quick rebuild after selling off like Aaron Gordon and Vukovic to Chicago. So they've done a really good job turning things around. It helps when you can draft a guy like Paolo, who's pretty much proven himself to be already a very good NBA star. So, and adding a veteran presence like Joe Ingles, who's been on some very good teams and can kind of help with that leadership, I think is only a positive step for them to take. So, James, based on your reaction, I'm assuming, well, I haven't told you what the number is yet, but I guess they won 34 games last year. Vegas has them at 36.5. Over under.
Over. I have them at 40.
Okay. Ty.
Over.
Traded.
I'll take the over. Fine.
I really want to take the under to be different like I did in hockey, but I do think this team has gotten a lot better. So I'm also going to take the over. Moving on to the Washington Wizards, Tyler's team. They went 35-47, so they finished 1 game better than the Orlando Magic. They also missed the playoffs. They gained Bilal Coulibaly. Sure.
Nailed it.
I have no idea. Number 7 overall, Danilo Gallinari, Ty Jones, Mike Muscala, Jordan Poole, obviously kind of one of those main pickups, and Landry Shamet. They lost Bradley Beal, finally got traded. Monte Morris, Kendrick Nunn, Chris Stopps, and Isaiah Todd. So, Ty, these Washington Wizards, they don't make any sense. Why are you signing all of these veteran guys? And what are they doing? Do you really want to build around Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, or is it time to tear it all down?
Yeah, I don't really know. Obviously, that they got a new GM. Seem to be kind of, I mean, they should be going full rebuild after trading Beal and Porzingis after last season. I think they're just trying to make this team somewhat watchable, maybe. I don't really know. Obviously, Kuzma and Poole are going to highlight that offense, which, you know, there is some flashiness to this team, but defensively, they're not good. They're not going to be a good team. They're not going to win a lot of basketball games, but I think there is something that's at least marketable for the fans, I guess, to go out and watch some of these guys play. I guess maybe could be the reasoning for some of the moves that they've made. Yeah, again, some flash, but no real substance for this Wizards team. They should be really trying to rebuild, and maybe, I mean, they maybe end up trading, you know, Poole and some of these other vets to some teams that could use it to get some more young talent there for the Wizards, because they're going to need it. They're not going to be a very good team.
If you were an NBA GM, which one of those guys, Kuzma, Poole, Gallinari, Ty Jones, Landry Shamet, who are you targeting? I mean, I don't even know what all those veterans are on like 1-year deals, but like, is Kuzma still the guy you think? Like, is he the biggest trade piece for them?
I feel like Kuzma is probably the biggest trade piece, certainly talent wise. And I think just with what he can offer, I think that he just signed a 4-year contract with them. So I think that's a big issue money wise. So that would be tricky, but I think he's definitely the most, for me, like talent wise, just having a guy like that's what you'd want. I think other guys would be easier to trade though. So I think, it's kind of a weird kind of toss up there.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that deal is, like you mentioned, the Wizards trying to have some name that you want to watch. But also is, Kyle Kuzma is still I think he's 28. So it's still young enough where that contract for 4 years will probably age pretty well and could probably be the biggest trade piece. And, if you trade for him this year, that's 3.5 years of control, which then potentially gives you a bigger, input of young players and or draft picks. So, the Wizards kind of feel like the Vancouver Canucks, where, you traded Bradley Beal, but now you need to go bad. Like you need to go San Antonio Spurs bad. And Vegas thinks they're going to do that. So they won 35 games last year, Tyler. They're over under set at 24.5.
Holy shit.
Not good. So they expect the Wizards to be bad. Are they going to be that bad?
Sheesh, I had a more like 26, 27. So just for that, I'm going to go over, but yeah, that's a pretty brutal over.
Yeah. I think we can all agree that this was the wildest over under set so far. Huge drop. Traded, what do you think? Over under 24.5 Wizards.
I'm going to go under just because I don't like that. I don't like I not that I don't like what you said, Tyler. You made me not like this team. So
James, what do you think?
I also think they go under. I think they after they win like 10 games, they'll trade everybody. So under.
Yeah, unless they start like the Jazz next year and just go like 13-2 to start for no apparent reason. I agree. I think they're going to trade most of those people. I'm going to go under. This feels like one that Tyler could potentially get right as the only one that took the over if everyone stays for no reason, but I also don't trust Washington to figure it out. So kind of makes sense. Tyler, we're going back to back, buddy. The Atlanta Hawks, they went 500 the entire way. I'm pretty sure they were never a game above, or they were pretty much always like 1-2 or 3-2. They were always one game within 500. And where do they finish? 41-41. They lost in the first round to Boston. They gained Kobe Buffkin with the number 15 overall pick, Wesley Matthews and Patty Mills, and they lost John Collins and Aaron Holiday. Tyler, we've talked about a lot of the Eastern Conference already. I think, even with teams like Orlando, we expect them to get better. We expect some of these other kind of mid to poor level teams like the Indiana Pacers to get better. The Hawks squeaked into the play-in in the playoff. Did they get any better, or do they need to make another move, either positive or negative?
Yeah, this was a weird year last year for the Hawks. After a deep playoff run the year prior, there was a lot of hype with this Hawks team, and it just did not work out last year. That's why you saw the coaching change. So Quinn Snyder, this will be the first year with a full year with him. I think that'll help. I do think the Hawks will improve this year. I think, Young and Murray is still like a very good 1-2 punch, which in the NBA is kind of what you need to be a playoff contender. So I think that they'll bounce back. I do. In order to be, kind of make a deep run, they're definitely going to need a few more pieces. It's still not a very complete team, but I think that they will find a way to kind of go back to where they were 2 years ago, which was a very young and upcoming team. I still think there's a lot there. There's a lot of substance there for them to really move forward and build upon. I think Trae Young, we've mentioned, probably one of the most exciting young players in the NBA. That's something to build around. I think that they will make some great strides. I think last year was just kind of one of those weird years for whatever reason. I do still think they need to add. I think they'll get off to a good start. I think they'll be buyers at the trade deadline, and hopefully they can win a playoff series or two this season. I still think there's a lot of good pieces here.
Okay, so would you say they're on like maybe the precipice of being a top 6 team?
Yes, they're definitely on that precipice, 100%.
Well, I think we found the title of this episode.
Oh man. Okay, I get that. And I think for them to really compete and be one of those top teams in the East, they're going to need to make a move. We've seen and heard rumors of them, chatting with Toronto, who is also a very confusing team who may or may not trade some guys off. And they also are now in the lead for the Damian Lillard trade, which we will discuss in the next 3 minutes. But so I don't know what to think of the Hawks. I wanted them to do more in the offseason, and they really didn't. I do still like Young and Murray as a backcourt. But we've also seen potentially that they would sell off Trae Young and kind of start all over again. So this feels like a very make it or break it year for the Atlanta Hawks. Vegas does not think they're going to be any better. They won 41 games last year. Their over under set at 41.5. So Tyler, what do you think over under on the Atlanta Hawks?
I'm going to go over. I think they're at 45.
All right. James, what about you?
Under at 40.
Wolf. Trading?
I'll take over.
Okay. I'm going to go over. I think they make a trade and try to compete in the East. I like teams that try to go for it. And I think we've talked about a couple of teams that need to not go for it in this division. So I'm going to take the over. Moving on to the last team in this division, the Miami Heat, who also barely squeaked into the playoffs. Honestly, all 5 of these teams could have missed the playoffs. Like it was pretty close to that happening. The Heat, as James correctly predicted, went on a run and then flamed out in the NBA Finals, which they lost to the Nuggies. They gained Thomas Bryant, Jamie Vasquez Jr. with the 18th overall pick, Josh Richardson, and re-signed Kevin Love. They lost the GOAT, Udonis Haslem, who finally retired, Victor Oladipo, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, and Cody Zeller. There's a lot of roster turnover on this team, James, including Haslem. Sorry, bud. No. But like Max Strus and Gabe Vincent played a lot of minutes for the Heat, both in the regular season and in the postseason to varying degrees of success, I feel like. As I mentioned earlier, the Damian Lillard thing has still not happened. The Heat have seemed like they've been the front runners this whole time. James, what do they do if the Dame trade doesn't go through? And can they make another run like they did last year?
Yeah. If the Dame trade does not go through, which I don't believe will happen, I think Dame will end up being a Miami Heat. This team is still set up for success. I mean, they still have their core of Jimmy, Bam, Tyler Hero. And you lost a bunch of guys, but you also kind of gained Caleb Martin. No, you didn't gain him as physically, but you found out that, damn, this guy can play. Look at the playoffs. Boy went off in the playoffs. And if you lose Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, that's cool because Caleb Martin can fill in that shots. He can fill in those points. He can fill in those minutes. I'm cool with that. Caleb Martin is good. And they gained Thomas Bryant, who can play some really meaningful minutes to back up Bam and keep Bam fresh. That was one of the biggest things, the biggest issues is Bam flamed out towards the end because of the fact that he was tired. They played a lot of minutes. He had to, because who is his backup? Kevin Love. Is Kevin Love that physical? Not really. They need a rebounding presence, and that's exactly what Thomas Bryant is. He's a big man who gets rebounds. He was also part of history. He was in that photo when LeBron James broke the scoring record calling for the ball. So he wants to play. He wants the ball. He wants offense. He can do all that. He's not as good as Bam. That's fair, but he can fill in and get meaningful minutes off the bench. I like that. This team will still be solid, right? Even if they don't get Dame, Duncan Robinson can still shoot. He proved that in the playoffs. They have good coaching, a good culture. It doesn't really matter who you put in there because they're going to fit in. That's the Miami Heat. That's Eric Spoelstra. I like this team with or without Dame.
Are you a little worried they're getting a little old? Jimmy's another year older. That's a lot of minutes. Kyle Lowry's 38. That's a lot of minutes. Kevin Love. I know you just said a lot of positive things, but we kind of see the Heat do this up and down kind of version. Are you a little worried that they're getting old? And again, crazy run to the playoffs through the playoffs last year until obviously they got to the finals, kind of similar to their counterpart, the Florida Panthers, who then also just got exhausted in the NHL final. So any worry on that, or you still think they'll be enough, or maybe they'll spread out the minutes a little bit better during the regular season.
Oh, definitely. That's the reason why I want Dame on the team, because he can take a lot of that pressure off. If Dame does not get on the team, I think their regular season record suffers, but then they still make that playoff push. If Dame is on the team, that regular season record will be better. But at the end of the day, like, they're gonna have to temper some of those minutes. The load management thing, that they're gonna have to figure out a way to get through that. So I don't know if Eric Spoelstra is gonna be that guy that's like, I'll play this guy 1 minute and call it a day. But something's gonna have to happen with this team because of how old they are. Kyle Lowry's 38 years old, crazy. Jimmy looks and feels old. He's really not terribly old, but the way he plays, he got crooked knees. That's what it's looking like. So if you could get some help, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and just a reminder, I'm sure you guys all know this, the NBA is the only one of the 4 sports that we talk about that winning your division doesn't mean dick. It is just what position you are in your conference. Obviously, with the other ones, you win your division, you're going through. The Heat, you can win your division and be 10 games out of the playoffs, just depending on how shit your division is. It's just easier to do our previews, this way. So, okay, James, no, I like that. I still think Dame, I honestly have no idea where Dame's going to go. If and when it goes down, we will discuss it. I promise you. So again, like I mentioned, James, they won 44 games last year. Vegas expects them to be a little bit better. They've got them at 48.5. Like we've mentioned a million times also, a 50-win team is pretty legit. That's when you know a team in the NBA is pretty good. So, James, over under 48.5 for the Miami Heat.
I'm going over because they're getting Dame.
Okay. Ty.
Over as well.
Traded.
They're getting over because they're getting Dame.
I'm going to take the under. I think they're going to have a little bit of a tired offseason, and I'm not sure Dame's going there. I'm just not convinced. I feel like it would have happened already. It's been months and months and months. But Tyler, we are officially done with the Eastern Conference. I think it's my turn to host next week, and then we'll start in the West.
Love that. Done with the East. We'll go to the West. That wraps up another NBA segment, and that wraps up episode 167 of TLDR Podcast. So thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Make sure you share the podcast with your friends and family, anyone else you think would like it. So hopefully you guys are enjoying all the sports. Again, this is one of the best times of year to be a sports fan. So hopefully you guys are loving it. Hope you guys are enjoying your week, and we'll see you next round for more some October baseballs coming up. We got a lot of things to look forward to. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic week. And remember, if you have any extra pumpkin anything, make sure you send it to Alex's house. See you next week.